Amendments to the bill to its title. Recognizing the gentleman from St. Mary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have an amendment at the desk. Amendment number 823427/1.
Amendment number 1.
So be considered reading an amendment.
So ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I really enjoyed the last debate on cutting transportation projects, because we've cut a lot of transportation projects. But it's important to understand why those projects were cut. And those projects were cut because we elected to fund mass transit instead of transportation. You can only describe it as a war on drivers. That's what we have in this budget right here, which is the largest tax increase in Maryland state history. Maryland has the 5th highest gas tax in the nation. And this July 1st, guess what? The gas tax is going up again. At that point, Marylanders will pay 70 cents a gallon in state and federal tax. That is a lot of money. And you look at this bill, it raises taxes on other drivers, it eliminates the trade-in allowance, increases the vehicle excise tax, increases registration fees, increases the penalty for speed cameras, assigns an impact fee for Uber and Lyft. It raises a lot of taxes. And it's supposed to be because the Transportation Trust Fund is in trouble. What this amendment does is put the Fairbox Recovery back to the historic standard of 35%. And look, because Minority Party and myself are such kind people, we phase it in over 5 years to get back to where we were in 2018. Now, why would we do this? Because if you look, the Fairbox Recovery for mass transit right now is in single digits. Let me give you an example. WMATA has a 6% Fairbox Recovery. That means the taxpayers are subsidizing it at 94%. So while we're raising taxes, canceling transportation projects, the young lady from Howard County read off a whole bunch of them, and I have a list here myself that I think we'll get to eventually. Why are we choosing to cancel transportation projects instead funding mass transit? This corrects all the problems that the House Appropriation Committee talked about revenue. Earlier in the debate, we talked about, hey, we need to do more funding for the BRFA. Well, this does it. This amendment here does that. So with that, I'm really hoping for a friendly amendment. So I'll let the floor leader take it over from here. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you to the good delegate from St. Mary's County. And we have to remind the body that we provide transportation options for all areas of the state. And in urban areas, that's transit. In rural areas, that's highways. And there's a good mix of everything in between. Members, I ask you to reject this amendment, and the reason is that the legislature used to have a 35% Fairbox Recovery for MTA, but the legislature, this body, chose to repeal it in 2017. Our Fairbox Recovery across all modes for MTA is about average right now compared to our peers. We are above our peers in some cases, in some modes, and we're below our peers in others, but generally we are average. Ridership is going in the right direction. In fiscal year 23, ridership increased 15% from the prior year, and increasing fares, as this amendment would force MTA to do, simply drives away the riders that have a choice and makes the riders that are left, who can least afford it, pay the increase in fares. We believe that this amendment simply doesn't work, and therefore we ask you to vote against it.
Maker of the...
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Friends, let's put some numbers behind this. This bill up here, in the preceding budget that we voted on, has $639 million for WMATA, Washington Area Metro. We only have $599 million in state dollars for roads and bridges. Those numbers seem to be a little upside down, wouldn't you think? Because, as I said when I offered the amendment, we have motorists paying a ton of money. And look, these projects are deep. We talked about some of them before. In my area, Route 249 was cut. The road floods out, traps the citizens in that area of a peninsula. The road needs to be raised, but you know that project was cut by MDOT. Also in St. Mary's County, $15 million for Route 5 and Great Mills Road. That was a campaign promise for like the last 2 elections, but it's cut. Then you go around the state. Allegheny lost $7 million from US 220. Anne Arundel, $38.6 million from I-97. Baltimore, $33.9 million from I-795. You can go on and on. Frederick, $105 million from US 15. Montgomery County, $68 million from I-95. The list just goes on and on. These are transportation projects that benefit the overwhelming majority of our citizens. There was a recent poll a couple weeks during session, Patrick Gonzalez poll, that said 64% of Marylanders want transportation money spent on what it was collected for, which is roads and bridges. I would ask the floor leader exactly how many people ride mass transit in this state. Because right now we're catering to the top 10% at the sacrifice of every other citizen in this state. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The revenue that flows into the Transportation Trust Fund is for all of our modes of transportation. And we choose to provide transit as a public good to move people efficiently, contribute to economic development, and please don't forget that point. Large employers, chambers of commerce support transit because it gets their employers to their places of work. We choose to put our values in transportation systems in urban areas and also in rural areas. We can do both. They are not mutually exclusive. Members, I ask you to reject this amendment.
Last comment, Madam Speaker.
Maker of the amendment.
Thanks, and we'll conclude this debate. $639 million just for WMATA. More money than state dollars going in for roads and bridges. That's insane. That's not what people in the state want. And it's not fair for some people to be getting almost a free ride while other people are having, you know, commuters driving to work. I mean, they are struggling. And we're raising record amounts of fees and balancing the budget and trying to pay for Kerwin, the blueprint, on the backs of commuters going to work, while at the same time we're letting some people that take a better value, more morals, I guess, they ride the metro so they don't have to pay for their commute to work. I don't see how in the world that is fair. We use the word all the time in this chamber of equity. Some of us say the words, but I'm not really sure we know what those words mean or believe. Because right now, I tell you, if you're a motorist in the state of Maryland, you're taking a beating. I move the amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
On the amendment, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Roll call.
Madam Speaker.
They added it. Clerk will take the call. The amendment fails.